If Tether's CEO suddenly feels like he is everywhere, that is not just a personality story. It is usually what happens when a piece of financial infrastructure becomes too important to stay in the background. Stablecoins used to be easy to dismiss as a crypto niche topic. Now they sit much closer to cross-border liquidity, exchange plumbing, digital dollar access, and increasingly the conversation around payments. When that happens, the people attached to the dominant rail become much more visible because the system around them is under more attention. First, what changed? What changed is not just media appetite. Stablecoins moved closer to the center of how people talk about digital dollars, payments experimentation, treasury flexibility, and crypto market liquidity. Tether remains the most recognized issuer in that world, so its leadership becomes a stand-in for the broader debate. That does not mean the company becomes less controversial. It means the platform is now hard enough to ignore that the conversation shifts from fringe curiosity towards strategic influence. This matters because liquidity leadership becomes a form of leverage. If a stablecoin is widely used across exchanges, cross-border flows, and digital dollar access points, it affects how value moves through the broader system. That makes the issuer strategically important, even when the product still carries controversy. In fintech terms, the issue is not celebrity. It is whether a private digital dollar rail can become so deeply embedded that everyone has to account for its position, whether they like it or not. Now the evidence. The limitation is that scale does not erase the trust question. Stablecoins still depend on confidence in reserves, redemption, operational resilience, and the willingness of users and partners to keep treating the token as dependable. Regulation matters too, because governments and major institutions are unlikely to stay neutral forever if private digital dollar rails grow more influential. So increased visibility is double-edged. It can reflect power, but it can also attract deeper scrutiny and higher expectations. So what should creators do with that? The best way to read this story is not as personality-driven crypto theater. It is as a battle over digital dollar infrastructure. If you want to understand whether Tether matters more or less going forward, watch where stablecoins keep getting used, where they expand into practical financial workflows, and whether user trust holds. The leadership media cycle is only interesting because it reflects a deeper infrastructure contest underneath. The real signal is not how often leadership shows up on camera. It is whether liquidity share holds, regulators tighten or tolerate the model, and users continue to trust redemption and reserves under stress. If those stay strong, Tether's visibility makes sense as a reflection of power. If they weaken, the spotlight will only magnify the fragility. The bottom line is that Tether now matters enough to be treated like infrastructure. Visibility rises when stablecoin power rises, but liquidity and trust will still decide the next phase. That is the level where this story becomes important for fintech, not just crypto commentary.